They would then deal with Mr Minogue's petition. Clearly, Mr Minogue spent a lot of time and effort in this individual petition, has given us a lot of submissions, but for one reason or the other, he now wishes to withdraw the petition. Just to say, there's some comments that Mr Minogue has raised with me that I'm in the process of replying, and Mr Minogue hopefully should get a reply to that letter at the end of this week. But nevertheless, he has intimated he wishes for the petition to cease from today. Could just get advice from committee on how we wish to deal with it. Just go around the table. Chuck Brody.
Yes, thank you, Convener. In view of the commentary is made without over-personalising it, perhaps my robust questioning of the motivation hasn't helped Mr Minogue, but I think when he writes to you, and hopefully in your reply, that you will encourage him to be a lot more accurate in some of the comments that he's made, some of which are completely distorted, incorrect, and frankly should not have appeared in this letter. It does. If Mr Minogue, I think, on the basis of his wish to withdraw, I think it's probably all round is probably, given the caveat about checking in future, it's probably better that we don't.
John Wilson.
Convener, based on your opening remarks in terms of this petition, I think I'd be keen to get a definitive view on whether or not this committee can continue with the petition if the petitioner decides at any stage that they submitted it to withdraw. The petitioner, before intimating that he wanted this petition to be withdrawn, had suggested that we actually seek views of other organisations, and clearly we haven't had responses from all organisations that we did seek the views from. And it was also, I would have liked to have actually got some of those views, because really, in terms of some of the responses we've had to date, I was quite surprised at the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Services response to the committee. I would have liked something, even if it was similar to the Sheriff's Association, just a response that we could actually then refer to, whereas the Crown Office seems to be one where they just don't want to respond to the issues raised. But there is an issue in terms of Scottish Human Rights Commission's views, and I'd have liked to have been able to seek the views of the Scottish Human Rights Commission on this issue, so that we could actually get, hopefully, what would be a definitive response from the Scottish Human Rights Commission as to whether or not it was appropriate that there should be a register kept of membership of organisations, and what rights individuals have not to have to declare membership of particular organisations.
Anne McTaggart.
It's important that we await further clarification before making any further decisions on the matter.
Okay, Angus MacDonald.
Yes, thanks, Convener. I do think it's unfortunate that the committee has spent some time on this petition for the petitioner to abandon it. And following up from John Wilson's point, a note in evidence or a reply from the Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons that they find it disquieting that no Freemason has been asked to give evidence in this in the process. So I think, clearly, certainly as long as I've been on the committee, we've never been in this position where a petition has been abandoned, and I would be keen to get further advice at the next meeting, if that's possible.
I'll bring Jackson Carroll in a second. I mean, one option, as I'm sure the committee have gathered, is that we continue this petition, we get advice from the clerk on where we are in terms of the administration of this, and make a decision at the next meeting. We've got some considerable time before the next meeting, so we will have time to do that, and we can make a considered view then, and we're neither, I don't think that has necessarily delayed our actions by much time at all. Jackson Carlow.
I would actually have advocated a different course of action, Convener, and that would be that before we consider Mr Minogue's request to abandon the petition, that we close the petition under our own aegis on the basis that the evidence so far that we've received does not give credence to the petitioner's arguments. And therefore, the question of our considering his request to withdraw the petition would then not arise.
But I'll bring Chip in a second. I mean, we've obviously agreed that we'll still get advice on the generality of this, but which has already been agreed.
Oh,
but this is about this. Yeah, but members are agreeable on that. You're saying for this specific petition, you would move that we will close the petition irrespective of the petition.
I would prefer that the destiny of the petition lay within the hands of the committee,
yes, and
that one proactive way in which we can deal with that, notwithstanding the general advice that we're receiving, would be before we consider Mr Minogue's request, which would have been a perfectly viable option, and one, I think, on the basis of everything I'd read, I may well have advocated in any event, would be to close the petition.
Yes. Well, I mean, whilst we don't normally have votes on this committee, I don't see why we shouldn't, if members feel strong about it. If Mr Carlow is moving a situation which is that we close it, then I'll take that as a formal motion.
Can I?
Chip Brodie?
No, I agree with. I mean, we've got. I mean, the petitions committee, I think, is doing a fairly good job in terms of highlighting issues and bringing them forward. And there are many petitions in the stream. Here we have a petitioner saying, I mean, and frankly, I would have preferred Mr Minogue to be here. I think we're going to spend more time on this. I think what we should do is, certainly as was requested, get some definition regarding the process. But in the case of this, I find it unusual that we wish to spend even more time on it when the petitioner doesn't. I mean, it takes two to tango, and in this case, we're tangoing on our own.
I think then I'll take that as you're supporting Mr Carlow's suggestion of closure. And any members have a contribute to that? Thanks, MacDonald?
No.
John Wilson? No. Okay, then, so the decision is we're going to close the petition in light of the arguments made by Jackson Carlow and others, and separately we're going to seek advice on what we do in the scenario in the future where a petitioner withdraws, and we should hopefully have that information at our next committee meeting. So can I thank members for the contribution.